Okay, we're finally here. The last step in the graphic design process. Okay, implementation. Okay, now as in our 100 level classes, I will say that we spend less time in those first 4 phases and we spend more time in this implementation phase because part of it is um, having to learn the software, right? As you get better at the software, that ratio changes where you will spend far more time in the pre-planning because it's not going to take you nearly as much time to actually work in the software. But this is where we make the money, right? We produce the final design, we present the work to the client, and then we debrief. So producing the final design, using whatever software is most appropriate to finish all the tasks. Presenting your work to the client, it can mean that you have a formal meeting to show them how everything has turned out. In a lot of cases, when there's print involved, you will actually send files to a printing business that will then actually do the printing, right? The formal printing with many, many copies on certain types of cardstocks or whatever. So you will send files to the printer, the human person printer, and they will send it to the physical machine printers. Sometimes you actually have to stand in front of your client or other people who are on your client's business team and show them prints or sample prints or proofs or whatever, and go through your whole design thing, especially if you've done a brand identity thing, right? That's kind of more of a longer presentation where you go through each piece and you show them what has happened and so on and so forth. And then one final step that is very often ignored is the debrief. Okay, so debriefing, even if you work by yourself, right, and maybe especially if you work by yourself, you must sit at the end of a project and go through the whole process from start to finish and review. How did this work out? Right? What could I have done better? What did not work? Okay. You can ask your client for feedback. You can decide that you're never going to work with that client again. Whatever it is, you need to take a moment to honestly evaluate not only your design itself, right, but your experience in the creation of that design, in the delivery of that design. What things took longer than you thought they would? What things were a lot easier than you thought they would? What kind of hurdles did you have to overcome in doing this project? Were there software problems, right? Were there deadline problems? Were there budget problems, right? How, moving forward, can you ensure that we're not repeating mistakes, right? What have we learned from doing this project? Even if the project ended up not being fabulous, right? We should be learning from that, right? We should be examining what made that not fabulous, right? Always look at yourself as part of the not fabulousness, right? But be gentle with yourself, right? I know very, very few egomaniacal artists. Most artists that I know fall on the other side of that, which is they are far too easy to beat themselves up, right? To blame themselves, to get depressed about it, to think that it was really all their fault, right? That it was some failing in them. And you should be honest about that, right? And that can be hard, but also understand that you are not working in a vacuum, right? This whole project, this whole experience came about because of a relationship that you created with a client. And so you need to step back and you need to see what part of that relationship was contributed by your client, what part of that relationship was contributed by you, what are the positive takeaways from that interaction, what are the less than positive takeaways from that, what can we learn, what did I not know going into this that I wish I would have known going into this, right? That's a good debrief question to ask yourself, right? Sometimes it's unavoidable, right? There is no possible way you could have known that such and such was going to happen, or this was going to whatever. And so there may not be a solution to it, right? But now you know it can happen. And so moving forward in your next relationship with your next client, you will have in the back of your head, well, I know that this, kind of very unpredictable thing could happen. And so I'm going to factor in maybe 5 to 10% longer as far as how long I think it's going to take to do something. Right? If you deliver your design early, no one is going to complain, right? But be gentle with yourself, right? We are all here learning, all together, every day, right? We are all ignorant of something, right? Ignorance is not a crime. It's curable. As long as we move through this, understanding that we are all ignorant about something. There's always somebody out there who knows something that we do not, and boy, wouldn't it be our pleasure to learn that thing, right? To be able to sit in the company of someone else and say, I have no idea about that. Why don't you tell me, right? It's okay to be ignorant, right? Ignorance is not bliss. Debriefing is an effort to cure yourself of some of that ignorance, whether it's about yourself or the graphic design process in general, or a specific technique, or this particular client, or clients in general, or working with print companies in general. There are all kinds of things that we should learn from every single one of these journeys that we take, from the beginning to the end of a design. And sometimes it is hard. Sometimes it is really, really hard. Sometimes it can be a miserable experience. And sometimes it is absolute bliss. Sometimes it is seeing your work making someone else's day, right? Making someone else smile, making someone else's eyes pop like, whoa, I didn't think it was gonna look that great, and boy, that sure gets you through quite a few dark days. So that's it. That is the graphic design process. And we will be using these steps, creating your personal brand development project, which is our last project. So I will make one more video, and it will be introducing the first steps of your personal brand development project. And I will see you in the next video.